And welcome back to another episode of the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living meaningful life. This week is another edition of the Life Update Q&A series that my business partner and my best friend, John Peterson, and I do. This episode is super special. We're actually recording it in a sauna for the first time. I've always wanted to do this, never had the opportunity. This is not staged. This is not fake. We are actually sitting in a sauna right now. We are sweating. If you're watching the video, you can see it. Shout out to one of our mentors, Hunter Mitchum, for letting us use his contrast therapy studio called Sweat House. This place is sweet, and I've always wanted to do a podcast like this. So maybe it's cheesy to say, but we're going to bring the heat on this episode.
Going to bring the heat. Yeah, it's exciting to be in this sauna. I know Hunter's kind of allowed us to be in this space quite a bit in the last, I don't know how long they've been open, 4 months, 5 months, something like that.
Sounds about right.
Sounds right. And it's just amazing. The contrast therapy. I mean, he's got a cold plunge sitting right here. He's got your own little studio. It's sauna, cold plunge, shower, vitamin C shower, which I didn't believe at first. I didn't know if it really did anything for you, but I get out and I feel my skin feels moisturized. My hair, that's the big thing for me, is the hair. So really, really happy about being in this space and allowing, Hunter allowing us to use this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is not an advertisement. He didn't ask us to say any of it. Like, he's just genuinely been such a value add to John and I. I mean, this is where last Friday, you and I actually had like a business meeting in the sauna while doing ice bath, going back and forth. Like, I love being able to operate in that way where it's like everyone wants to get coffee, everyone wants to go get drinks. There's nothing wrong with either of those. But like, this is almost like 3.0, like meeting 3.0. Like, you're doing something difficult together that's also beneficial for your health. Like, I love doing this type of stuff. I love doing workouts, people over meetings. Like, this is the direction that I've wanted in my life to head. And for like years, I've been thinking about like, how do I incorporate this? Like, ever since the Todd Anderson episode, which you guys can go watch if you haven't seen it, but ever since that episode where we did contrast and open up the episode in the ice bath, like, I've been trying to think of how do I incorporate these holistic things that I personally really believe in? How do I get more of that? And how do I get people, how do I surround myself with people that are like-minded and want to do difficult things and like do this in the same environment? So super hyped to be able to do this here today.
Yeah, what a blast. What a blast. And yeah, we're sweating profusely. So this is fun.
Yeah, you're watching us,
different.
You're seeing us react on the fly here. I've never done this before. Who knows? These mics might give out. I really hope not. But you know what? Sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. So we're sending it today.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
So this episode is questions that you guys submitted. I'm just going to remind you real quick. You guys can, if you have my number, you can send me a text or you can just DM at Jacob O'Connor on Instagram. Anytime you come up with questions for John and I, because, we're blessed and thankful to be involved in some pretty cool things at a young age. And so we love trying to share as much as we can to hopefully help in any sort of manner. You guys can just DM or text those over to me. I'll just keep a catalog and I'll pull from that whenever we do these monthly. But at this point, our business on the Broken Egg Cafe has been open for 8 months. 3 out of the last 4 weeks have been sales records.
Yeah.
Week over week, which, I mean, that's incredible. The growth feels great. I mean, we've documented this whole thing both through the podcast, YouTube, and Instagram, and we've shown that like it has not been easy this whole time. We've had difficulties, we've had struggles. So to get a win like this, like, it feels really good. And I'm happy to document that because I've also been documenting the low points. So I feel like it's a healthy balance, giving everyone an accurate view of how things are going.
100%. Yeah, we've just been moving. It feels really good. It feels really good to kind of get a little bit of a rhythm underneath us. I think we talked about that a little bit on the last episode, but just starting to get a rhythm and everybody's kind of falling into place, which is really, really cool and really awesome to see. So
yeah, 100%. So we're going to open it up with the first question. We're going to start off with a question that was submitted to my Instagram, and it was there a certain point or time when you realized that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, and I think this question, for me at least, it goes back pretty far. I mean, I guess you might have entrepreneurship in your family, going back to the farm and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
I guess you could consider that in me too. Grandparents were farmers, had their own land and did that for a living. But I didn't have an immediate family. My dad and my mom are not entrepreneurs. So that wasn't really a space that they were familiar with, or familiar with promoting, I guess, necessarily. But I figured I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was in high school, doing some pretty crap jobs. I was working at the airport doing sanitation, so you can expect how that was going for an hourly rate, and did some other pretty nasty stuff when I was in high school. Just you know, it was just getting some extra cash around, and after that experience, I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that necessarily for the rest of my life. Work for somebody else, and sacrifice time for money, which was kind of what it boiled down to. So at that point, I guess I kind of wanted to get out of that. And it's been really, really nice to be able to do that, and feel really, really blessed to be in a situation where we can take a jump, take a risk, and do that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question very well, but
yeah, like it was an inflection point. Like,
right.
it was a time where you realized that that's not what you were looking for. And I think one thing that like would be cool for you to kind of double click and expand on is you knew that you kind of rejected that lifestyle. Like you tried it, you knew you didn't like it, but that didn't mean you knew what you're going to go into. You didn't know how you were going to enter into the world of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be relatable for a lot of our listeners too, is like they understand that they want to create and build their own life. They like the idea of being in control, of being able to do that. But they don't know where they want to get started. So like maybe take us back to your headspace if you tried other things, like kind of how you got that ball rolling to get to where we are today with the restaurant and everything else that we're working on.
Yeah, definitely. I think you and I can both say that we tried in the wrong direction first. We interned at Spirit. So that was an interesting experience. That was more of a corporate gig that kind of showed us what the corporate space looked like in terms of being an employee and stuff like that. Coming out of that summer in particular, another inflection point where I was like, yeah, that's not where I want to spend the next 40 years of my life until I retire. But
hey guys, Jacob here. Real quick before we get back to the episode, I just want to take a quick second to say, if you guys are enjoying this episode, please make sure to share the link with a friend. You may have noticed I don't run any ads in the podcast. In fact, I don't make any money off the podcast. It's quite the contrary. Over the past 5 years, I've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into the growth of the show, trying to continually upgrade the equipment, bring on better guests, and just improve the overall quality of the podcast. So if you guys are enjoying this episode, or if you enjoyed previous episodes, please share the link with a friend. Sending it to 1 or 2 people makes a huge difference for me on the back end. As always, I appreciate your guys' support. Let's get back into the episode.
For me, it was kind of just taking the leap. You and I both kind of saw an opportunity with the NIL space. You were already working in it. Sounded like a risk for sure, because it was going to be one of those things where, leaving the place that I felt comfortable and familiar with, had friends and stuff like that. Coming to Wichita, I didn't really have anybody, but I knew there was potential with this NIL deal. And so, I think for me, it was taking a risk. Maybe I didn't know exactly that NIL was going to be the thing forever, and it didn't end up turning, very successful. But taking that risk, taking that jump, I think that was the most important piece, and doing something.
Yeah, it's like the big part was like you actually took a step.
Right.
Like I think a lot of people get fixated on the idea that the first business that they jump into, like where they're testing out entrepreneurship, they're like, this has to be the thing that's going to make me $100 million. I think that puts a lot of pressure on that decision, and that can lead to analysis paralysis. And I think you just jumping in and saying like, let's try and make this work, and being willing to like pivot and be mobile is what ultimately led to both you and I having that mindset, leading to where we are today with things.
Mm-hmm. And we'll probably get into this later too, but it's just having good people around you too that are either doing the same thing, taking jumps, supporting you, saying, I don't know what you're doing necessarily, but you're doing something and I like it. I think that's really, really important. And that's helped us with mentorship and people just wanting to help out. So.
Yeah, that is funny. Is I think about a lot of the great people we got connected to while working on a business for college athletes. A lot of those people are still our mentors today. And arguably, they're more relevant to what we're doing today than what we were doing with Player Card, the NIL company.
Right.
But it was the fact that we were so young trying something. They respected that. And that's why they were willing to mentor us, even though that wasn't their given domain of expertise. So I think that's a good point. Like the fact you're willing to try something you never like know when that connection is going to become valuable down the road. And people just want to help when they see other people taking action, trying to do something.
Yeah, 100%. We ran into that so much, and it was such a big help when we started out. So I'll turn the question back to you.
Yeah. So my like kind of pivotal moment was when I was 16. I joined this is the Monroe County Startup Class. Essentially, what that was, it was a high school class my junior year that took you out of school for the first 2 hours and put you in the community where you met with local entrepreneurs, and then you were tasked to start your own business by the end of the year for like the capstone project. And this class was so transformative because, like, I don't know where you guys all went to school and what that situation was like, but being off premise during school hours, like, it was such a mind shift change for me, like mindset shift for me, where I realized like I'm operating outside of this defined box that is school, where you go to class from this time to this time, you have a 5-minute restroom break, 3 minutes to walk to class, in this rigid structure. And I'm being taught to challenge that through this class. I'm being told to ask questions that you're not usually allowed to ask about how much money people are making and how they started their business. And it was such a paradigm shift is ultimately what it was for me. And through that program, I ended up winning their Entrepreneur of the Year thing. I had made this seat cushion for truck drivers meant to alleviate back pain. Honestly, like it was not a good product at all. But again, going back to the principle of just trying things people want to help, that ended up getting me an internship with a global manufacturing company for wheelchair cushions. And they were local to St. Louis, which is crazy. But I was on their product development team. There's like 20 years between me, the 16-year-old intern, and the next youngest guy at 36. And so during that time, I was like, okay, first corporate exposure. Like I just got a taste of entrepreneurship. Now I'm going into corporate. Like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Like everyone is just clocking in, hating their lives. Like this is not looking good, man. So then we go to college and I work in startups for a couple of years. And then you and I both intern at Spirit and have that same experience. Spirit's a large aerospace manufacturing company in Wichita. But we both have that same experience where we see people counting down the days until they retire. And they're doing that 30 plus years out. And it's like that didn't feel good to me. Like I'm willing to work my ass off, but it's got to be on something that I can be proud of at the end of the day. And that was not the experience I had through that internship. And I think that's similar for you as well. So I think those were pivotal moments where it's like, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm willing to work. I don't expect it to be easy, but I want to be building something of my own. And I guess that's what led to this.
Yeah, definitely. I like the way you describe that too. I think that's a good way of putting that for sure. Being in the sauna it's tough.
Yeah, I was going to say,
tough.
I'd be curious, like, if you guys are watching this, I'd be curious if you, like, just sent me a DM or something. I would love to know who, like, some of our consistent viewers are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got a good idea of who kind of listens, but yeah, I'm wondering who actually watches this because I see it come in and it's like, I wonder who's actually sitting there watching this.
Yeah.
So, we are sweating quite profusely. It's probably entertaining, so I do recommend that you guys turn the video on for this one.
Definitely. We're trying to keep it together, but it's hot in here.
I know. I need to grab a little bit of water.
The gray shorts were not the right choice today.
There's sweat coming out of everywhere, man.
Yeah, it's good though. It's good. We're getting our heat shock proteins going. So
I ran this morning just a little bit. I'm doing this, and then I got to go lift after this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like backwards. I would have liked to have started with contrast or ended with contrast, but now it's like this weird middle piece.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about it. I was like, man, do I go lift after this? Or like, I don't know what the order of operations is on this one, especially if we hop in the ice bath a little bit.
I think I'm going to have to like just cannonball in after this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
So the second question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was something along the lines of, what was the best piece of advice you've ever received through your podcast, through a meeting with the mentor? Just like your own interaction, what was the best piece of advice you'd received?
Yeah. I wasn't an active participant in this podcast, but I think the merit behind it was really, really awesome. And I took a lot away from the episode. It was Sal Frisilla at the First Form headquarters.
Yeah.
I was a cameraman. I was the elected cameraman for that episode.
Shout out to John.
So, you can shoot all the kudos my way for the production of that one.
The camera was on a tripod.
It wasn't a tripod, so I kind of just sat there, but nonetheless, took some really good things from Sal, and him and his brother, Andy, are just fascinating guys. Just guys that are doing different things than the norm. they have different perspectives than the norm. But really, really awesome. And one thing that Sal said that stuck with me is just surrounding yourself with people that are either A, smarter than you, and B, support you no matter what. And that kind of covers like spouses or significant others as well. I think he dove into that pretty harshly. But I think it was really important for me to see, like, okay, who you're around directly makes such an impact on who you are as a person. It's kind of like, you are what you eat in a sense. It's like whoever is in that room with you is kind of who you model after, because you're not the smartest person in that room. So you're always building yourself. You're always building your persona, building what you know. Just curiosity and understanding those folks is really awesome.
Yeah, as humans, we are osmosis machines. Like, we absorb the knowledge, the intent, the energy behind everything that we're around. Like they say, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I think that's solid advice, because I think you and I are often not the smartest people in the room. And I think that doesn't bother us. I think we almost seek that out. Like, we've been so fortunate to have such great mentors and people in our lives where we're constantly in a situation where we're just asking questions. And you and I don't care if they're looking at us like, really? Like, you guys don't know this? Like, that humility we're not afraid of, because we understand the power of learning from people's experiences. And like, if you're around people that are just absolutely killing and have done incredible things at the highest level, it's almost like a thermostat. And I'm stealing this from Andy Frisella. But like, if your thermostat's set to 77 degrees and that's your average, that's who you are as a human being. You walk around with 77 degrees of intensity, knowledge, willpower, discipline, and you start hanging out with someone whose thermostat's set to 90, like, just by homeostasis, it's going to raise your average. You may not get to 90 just by one person, but you may get up to 85. You start hanging around with another 95, and that starts pulling you up. Like, it really does affect you, the people that you're spending your time with. And you need to be ultra conscientious of who you surround yourself with.
100%. 100%. I love it. Good episode too. Definitely go back and look at that one. I don't remember what time of year that was.
That was December 31st. It was New Year's Eve.
Was it really?
Because I spent my New Year's Eve while everyone was out partying. I was editing this episode until 11 p.m. or until really midnight, so that it could come out January 1st.
Dang, the grind.
It was. I remember, dude, I sat in there. I was editing for hours. I was sick as a dog too. I think about that often. I did that episode pretty sick.
Yeah.
And then just powered through, and I was literally writing out my New Year's resolutions while editing it at like 11:50 a.m. or 11:50 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And I took a little picture of it, and it's something that I hold on to. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Good episode. Go back and look at it.
Great camera work. Highest quality camera work you could add.
Heck yeah.
I would say one of the biggest pieces of advice that I'd have is one of the most simple, and I think that kind of correlates. It came from my episode with Kip Folks, the co-founder of Under Armour. He said that you can do anything. Like, he was 22 and starting Under Armour in a basement with Kevin Plank. Who would have thought that they'd turn that into a $4.5 billion publicly traded company? And he was like, what matters is you just show up every day and you do the work. Like, day by day, you figure it out, you adapt as the challenges come, and you can accomplish anything. Like, you don't have to be some special person with this special background, all these connections, the money already in the bank. Like, just show up every day and do it to the best of your ability, and you can literally make anything happen. I think that's super cool, because I know a lot of you guys listening are not in a position where you're starting on first or second or third base. Like, you are having to start at ground zero and build up, and that's where John and I have been. I think it's the value in documenting this whole thing is just like, there's nothing special about us. We're just willing to show up every day and try. And we don't even know if this is going to work out, but we're willing to share that, because I hope it gives you guys this sense that you too can go out and just start taking those first steps. And I just really like that advice, because I believe that you can do anything as long as you're willing to put in the work and the effort.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I think it is true. I think it's true. You and I are just out here doing it.
Just day by day,
man. Just day by day. We're just showing up.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right,
we're dying in here.
We are dying a little bit. Here's the third question. Do you feel like the restaurant has become your identity? Who are you without it? And how do you feel about that?
You sent me this question before, and I had to think about it for a little bit, because part of me wanted to say that the restaurant wasn't my identity or our identity, and like, it almost came off as like a bad thing for the restaurant to be our identity
Mhm.
in my head as soon as I heard it. But I took a deep dive with it, and I was like, well, people know us from the restaurant.
Mhm.
Like that is how we're engaging with people right now. We're introducing ourselves with the restaurant. We're saying, that is what's directly attributable to you and I and our work right now. The NIL business was that before, and it was not quite as well known, I guess, because it wasn't public facing totally. But now, when people drive by North Oliver, they're like, "Oh, that's another broken egg."
Yeah.
I may or may not know those guys because I've seen them on social media. I've seen them, out and in the restaurant, or I met with them over lunch or something like that. So I would say it is part of our identity right now, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, like, it's something for people to latch onto and to believe in, like we talked about earlier, the importance of differentiating yourself, and this is something that you and I are putting everything into, so of course it's gonna be who we are right now. Like, of course, people are gonna think about us and think about the restaurant because we're putting so much time and so much effort into it, and that's something that people respect. So I don't think it's a negative thing that that's our identity. But it was an interesting question because it made me a little bit introspective where I think about the other identities that I could also occupy. Like if I wasn't currently involved in the restaurant doing the podcast and all this like business entrepreneurship stuff, it's like, well, who else am I? And it's like, I'm a son, I'm a grandson, I'm a sibling, um, I'm a godfather, I'm an uncle, I'm a friend. Like there's all these other identities that are important. And it like the last question was like, how do you feel about it? I feel really good about my identity with the restaurant, but it also made me introspective to the point of like, as I think about these other identities, maybe they've been neglected a little bit more than they would have been if I wasn't involved in the restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as we talk about sacrifice and the price of ambition, I do think that that's a very real one that you and I try and be conscientious of. But I do think it's a very real part of it is like you have these other elements to who you are and who people see you as and what you matter to them as. And there is a bit of a sacrifice and a trade-off that you have to make for being so involved and caring so deeply about something and working so hard on it. So that's just kind of where my head went.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the age-old saying, there's only 24 hours in a day, so how you spend your time, this is where my head went, how you spend your time is kind of like a lever. You pull one string, you pull
Yeah.
another string. It's like, if you do one thing, the opportunity cost of doing that thing is not doing something else.
Yep.
And so, obviously, we waste a lot of time. Just as humans, we need distractions, we need things like that. But trying to maximize our 24 hours, I think, is a focus that I've been trying to work on as well.
Yeah, there's a saying from a famous economist that says there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs. And that's something you can look at as a half glass full or a glass half empty. And like it's kind of sad at first think like there's no solutions to anything, but then if you think about it, like what matters to your priorities are things that you vote on with your time. Like you're saying, we have a finite amount of time. We're limited to 24 hours a day. When you do one thing, you're voting with your time to do that over doing another thing. You can't have it all. There are trade-offs to each decision that you're making. And that's something that I think we've been trying to be pretty conscientious of.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough balance. I mean, because we want to devote everything to the restaurant, but we know that's not feasible. It's not healthy. So we devote as much time as we can while still trying to balance that health aspect of it as well.
And doing it in a holistic manner, like this, sitting in a sauna, about to do the ice bath after. Still getting it done though, like this is efficient, this is productive, but it's also good for our health.
Indeed.
A lot of fun things, man.
My heart rate. I'd like to. Where's your heart rate at right now? Sorry, I didn't mean to divert the question here.
I'm at 123. What are you at?
I'm still measuring.
You're flatlining.
I'm flatlining. No heartbeat. 0 heartbeat. 118.
Yeah, you're a little bit more acclimated than I am because you've been absolutely obliterating yourself in the dry sauna at Heskett.
Mm-hmm. I love that sauna, man. I tell you what, this one isn't quite as hot today. We're sitting about 125. but that one at 200 degrees is brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal, brutal, brutal.
And as folks that do 200 regularly, I already can see the feedback. You're only in 125. You got to remember, we've been in here for 35 minutes. And when you are talking and exerting that energy out, we are slowly dying right now.
100%.
This is a slow cook.
It's a slow cooker. It's a slow cooker for sure.
Yeah.
So,
any comments you want to make on the restaurant before we wrap up?
No, not really. I think just to document it, I think the 7-month mark or the 8-month mark is really where we hit our stride. So if we're looking back on this at like 10 years from now or something like that, this is right where I feel like we're a little bit more comfortable, just in terms of operations, in terms of traction and efficiency. We're starting to really get that. So love to document that and just say this. I feel like this is a milestone for us. For sure.
It definitely is. We're able to start utilizing our time a little bit more in a manner that we wanted to originally. We're getting to work less as kind of hourly employees in the restaurant, which we had to do to earn our stripes. But we're now able to work more on bigger picture, high leverage activities that will ultimately move the business forward on. It's the distinction that we always talk about of working on the business versus working in it. So we're starting to feel that. It's June 8th or 9th right now of 2025. So just timestamp and documenting this.
Indeed. Anything else going on in your life that you want to document?
Contemplating training for an ultramarathon. Probably going to end up pulling the trigger on it. It's a dark pit that I always fall into about once a year. So really looking forward to that one. A little bit hesitant perhaps, but looking forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah, indeed.
And then we do a run club, Hunter, that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Him and I do a run club every Friday morning out front of Sweat House. We do 4 miles at 6 a.m. It's about a 10-minute per mile pace. We'd love for y'all to come out. Just, again, as I talked about last episode, keep building this great community of people listening to the podcast, people that are striving to do great things. And that's about all I've got.
Perfect.
Yep. You guys can find me on Instagram at Jacob O'Connor. The podcast is at Real Period Conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to share it with a friend. And if you guys have more questions, send them to me. We'll get to them on next episode. Thanks for watching.
Bada bing.